Have you ever stared at a penguin and thought, wait a second, this bird has wings, this bird has feathers, why on earth can't it just take off and fly like the others? It feels like one of nature's great practical jokes. Imagine dressing up a bird in a perfect tuxedo, giving it stubby little wings, and then watching it waddle across the ice like it's late for a dinner party. Surely, somewhere in its DNA, there's a pilot begging to be released. But here's the truth, penguins aren't broken birds. They're not failures of evolution. In fact, they're one of the greatest success stories in the animal kingdom. Penguins gave up the skies not because they were weak, but because they were smart. Because while the air might belong to eagles and hawks, the ocean belongs to penguins. So today, right here on Antarctica Penguin, we're going on a journey, a story that's going to reveal why penguins can't fly, how they traded wings for flippers, and why that single decision made them the Olympic athletes of the sea. Stick around, because the deeper we dive, the more astonishing their story becomes. And hey, if you love this kind of content, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss another adventure with these remarkable birds. From the sky to the sea. Let's rewind millions of years. Long before humans even dreamed of the word Antarctica, penguins had ancestors who flew through the skies. These weren't the tuxedo-wearing comedians we know today, they looked more like cormorants or albatrosses, gliding gracefully, wings stretched wide. But over time, something happened. Their environment began to change. Their food source, the rich shoals of fish and squid, wasn't floating in the air. It was underwater. And slowly, generation by generation, penguins began to adapt. Flying was useful, sure. But it was expensive. Think of flight as a luxury car, powerful, fast, but always thirsty for fuel. You need strong muscles, hollow bones, and wings built for lift. Penguins realized something important. Instead of burning calories trying to fly above the waves, why not dive beneath them, where the feast really was? And so began one of evolution's greatest experiments. Trading hollow for solid. Most birds have hollow bones. It's what makes them light enough to lift off. But penguins went in the opposite direction. Their bones became solid and dense, perfect for diving. Now, this may not sound like a big deal, but it's revolutionary. Imagine trying to swim with balloons tied all over your body. That's what hollow bones would feel like underwater. Every dive would become a battle to stay down. Penguins, with their solid bones, sink like streamlined submarines. No wasted energy. No constant struggle to fight buoyancy. Just smooth, effortless dives into the deep blue. And the results? Penguins can dive to incredible depths, some species plunging over 500 meters below the surface in search of food. That's deeper than most submarines go on an average trip. All because they gave up flying. Wings that became flippers. Now let's talk about those wings. On land, They look kind of silly. Stubby, stiff, more like awkward arms than graceful flight tools. But in the water, those wings transform. They become flippers, sweeping side to side, powering the penguin forward like underwater jet engines. Where other birds flap up and down to create lift, penguins sweep like oars, slicing through the water with incredible control. They can dart, spin, chase, and even leap out of the sea with explosive bursts of power. To put it in human terms, penguins are not the airplanes of the animal kingdom. They're the fighter jets. Short, stocky, powerful, and built for tight maneuvers. A question of energy. But why couldn't they keep both skills? After all, some birds, like puffins and guillemots, can both fly in the air and dive underwater. Wouldn't that be the best of both worlds? Here's the catch, it's all about energy. Puffins can fly and swim, yes, but they aren't world-class at either. Their flight is exhausting, their dives short. Penguins decided not to be average. They went all in on swimming. They traded versatility for specialization, and it worked. Think of it like sports. You can train to be pretty good at both sprinting and long-distance running, but you'll never be an Olympic champion in either. Penguins didn't settle for mediocrity. They became Olympic champions of the sea. Masters of the ocean. The ocean is a harsh teacher. Waves crash. Currents pull. Temperatures plunge. But penguins? They adapted so brilliantly that what looks like a challenge to us is their playground. Their bodies are streamlined like torpedoes. Their feathers, unlike most birds, are tiny, stiff, and layered so densely that water barely touches their skin. Beneath that, a layer of fat provides insulation, keeping them warm even in icy Antarctic waters. It's like wearing a wetsuit under a waterproof coat. And when they move underwater, oh, it's poetry. Penguins reach speeds of 15 miles per hour, faster than most Olympic swimmers could even dream of. They twist with the elegance of gymnasts, flip upside down, dart after prey, and sometimes even surf waves for the fun of it. Flying? Who needs the sky when you own the sea? Eyes of the deep. But swimming fast isn't enough. To survive, penguins need to hunt. And to hunt, they need vision. Above the surface, a penguin's eyesight might not impress you, it's decent, but not hawk-like. Underwater, though? They're superheroes. Their eyes are adapted to cut through dim, murky depths, spotting fish with pinpoint precision. Where light bends and distorts for us, penguins see clearly. Imagine diving into a dark swimming pool, you'd struggle to spot a coin on the bottom. Penguins would see it, chase it, and probably eat it if it looked tasty enough. This visual superpower is part of the reason they didn't need the sky anymore. Their world became the water. And in that world, sight was far more valuable than soaring wings. Energy economics. Now, let's step back and talk about something invisible but critical, energy economics. Flying is one of the most energy-demanding actions in the animal kingdom. It's constant flapping, constant fuel burn, constant work just to stay in the air. That's why hummingbirds eat nearly all the time. They're fueling an engine that never shuts down. Penguins looked at this equation and thought, no thanks. Why waste all that energy battling gravity when food is swimming below? By losing flight, penguins reallocated their energy. They built stronger muscles for diving. They evolved better insulation for warmth. They streamlined their bodies for efficiency. And that efficiency is what keeps them alive in Antarctica, where the line between survival and starvation is razor thin. The great what if. But let's imagine for a second, what if penguins did fly? Picture a colony of emperor penguins, thousands of them, all flapping into the air at once like tuxedoed pigeons. It would be chaotic, hilarious, and kind of adorable. But scientifically, it wouldn't work. Their bodies are too heavy. Their wings too stiff. The fuel demands too high. If penguins tried to fly today, they'd probably collapse from exhaustion after a few minutes. And here's the bigger point. If penguins could still fly, they probably wouldn't be penguins as we know them. They'd be smaller, lighter, weaker swimmers. They wouldn't dominate the seas, wouldn't dive deep, wouldn't thrive in freezing waters. Flying penguins might sound fun, but they'd be a downgrade from the incredible creatures we already have. Encounters with humans. Throughout history, humans have been enchanted by penguins. Early explorers of Antarctica wrote about them in their journals. Some thought penguins were clumsy, others admired their resilience. And then there are the myths. Did you know people once believed penguins were a kind of fish? Their strange waddles and inability to fly confused sailors. It wasn't until later that scientists firmly classified them as birds, albeit very unusual ones. And in modern times? Well, we've had fun with the idea of penguins flying, too. Remember that BBC April Fool's video? The one where they showed penguins soaring through the air? Millions of people believed it, at least for a few minutes. Why? Because deep down, we want to believe penguins can fly. Their cuteness makes us root for them, as if evolution somehow cheated them out of the skies. But trust me, penguins don't need wings to be amazing. Penguins versus predators. Let's not forget, penguins live in dangerous waters. They share their environment with leopard seals, sea lions, sharks, and orcas. In the air, they'd be vulnerable, slow, heavy targets. In the water, they're agile, fast, and elusive. Their flippers give them the ability to twist and turn so quickly that even predators struggle to keep up. Think about it. If penguins had kept flight instead of swimming mastery, many species might not have survived. Their entire evolutionary strategy, dense bones, powerful flippers, streamlined bodies, makes them survivors in one of the toughest habitats on Earth. And that's something worth admiring. Life on the ice. When penguins aren't in the water, they're on land, or more accurately, on ice. And let me tell you, for a bird that gave up flying, surviving on solid ground is no easy feat. They waddle. They slip. They belly slide. And yet, they make it work. Colonies of thousands gather together, each bird packed shoulder to shoulder. To the casual eye, it looks chaotic, noisy, even silly. But hidden in that chaos is one of the most extraordinary survival strategies in nature. Take emperor penguins, for example. During the brutal Antarctic winter, temperatures can plunge to -60 degrees Celsius. Winds whip across the ice with deadly force. And yet, the colony survives, not by flying away to warmer places, but by huddling. Dozens, hundreds, sometimes thousands of penguins squeeze together, rotating positions so no bird is left out in the cold. Flight would never save them from this. Community does. Parenting without wings. And then comes parenting. Most birds build nests high in trees or cliffs, safe from predators. Penguins? They don't have that luxury. Their homes are flat stretches of ice, exposed to the elements. If penguins still flew, they might scatter and build solitary nests. Instead, grounded penguins rely on teamwork. Male emperor penguins, in particular, are heroes of patience. After the female lays a single egg, she heads to the sea to feed. The male stays behind, balancing that fragile egg on his feet, covered by a warm flap of skin. For 2 long months, he doesn't eat. He just waits, through storms, darkness, and hunger. When the chick finally hatches, the female returns with food, and the cycle of survival continues. This incredible act of endurance is only possible because penguins evolved into what they are today, flightless, grounded, and completely adapted to their environment. Flying away simply isn't part of the penguin blueprint. The waddle factor. Now, let's take a lighter turn for a moment. Why do penguins waddle the way they do? It's become their signature move, adorable, awkward, and endlessly meme-worthy. But here's the science: waddling is actually efficient. Because their legs are set far back on their bodies, penguins don't walk like other birds. Instead, they rock side to side, conserving momentum with each step. It looks funny to us, but studies show waddling uses less energy than you'd expect. Once again, what looks like clumsiness is actually cleverness. And when waddling won't do, penguins belly slide across the ice, using their flippers to push themselves forward. Imagine a bird turning into a sled. It's practical, hilarious, and surprisingly fast. Climate change, a new battle. Of course, no story about penguins today is complete without acknowledging their greatest modern challenge, climate change. Penguins have conquered predators, mastered the oceans, and survived the harshest winters on Earth. But warming seas and melting ice are changing their world at a pace they can't control. Fish populations shift. Breeding grounds disappear. Entire colonies face uncertainty. This is where the irony hits hardest. Penguins gave up flight to thrive in the ocean, but now the ocean itself is under threat. It's not a predator they can outswim. It's not a storm they can outlast. It's us, our choices, our industries, our impact on the planet. And yet, penguins endure. Watching them, you can't help but feel both admiration and responsibility. If these birds could give up flight to survive, surely we can give up a few harmful habits to protect them. Myths, magic, and penguins in culture. Penguins have always had a hold on human imagination. From explorers who marveled at their resilience to filmmakers who turned them into stars of movies like Happy Feet and Madagascar. In stories, penguins dance, sing, and march with military precision. They've become symbols of resilience, humor, and charm. But beneath the cartoonish portrayals lies a deeper truth. Penguins don't need to fly to inspire us. Their groundedness is what makes them relatable. Their struggle against cold, their teamwork, their loyalty to mates and chicks, it's the stuff of legends. And yes, the joke will always remain, they look like birds that misplaced their pilot's license. But the reality is far more epic. Lessons from penguins. What can we, humans, take away from penguins? A lot more than you might think. We live in a world that constantly tells us to do more, be more, spread our wings. But penguins remind us that sometimes, giving something up isn't a loss, it's a gain. By losing the sky, penguins found the sea. By grounding themselves, they discovered a freedom no other bird can claim. It's a lesson in specialization, in focus, in thriving where you are strongest. So the next time you feel like life clipped your wings, think of the penguin. Maybe it didn't clip them. Maybe it reshaped them into flippers. Maybe you're not meant to fly in the air, you're meant to soar in the water. Legends of flightless glory. So here we are, staring at these tuxedoed birds who can't fly, and yet, they've conquered one of the harshest places on Earth. Isn't that the twist? The very thing people assume makes them less than, their inability to fly, is the exact thing that makes them so extraordinary. Flight wasn't stolen from penguins. They chose to let it go. They didn't fail at the sky, they won at the sea. And that choice shaped them into some of the most fascinating creatures alive today. Imagine evolution as a grand auction, every species bidding on survival strategies. Eagles bid for the sky. Sharks bid for the ocean. Penguins stepped forward and said, "We'll take the water too, but we'll do it with feathers and flippers." And nature said, "Sold." That's not a lost story. That's a success story. The beauty of adaptation. When you really think about it, penguins are living proof of how powerful adaptation is. They remind us that the world isn't about being the fastest, strongest, or flashiest, it's about being the best at your role. An eagle might soar, but can it dive 500 meters below icy waters and hold its breath for 20 minutes? A cheetah might sprint, but can it survive at -60 degrees surrounded by thousands of neighbors all huddling for warmth? Penguins don't compete in others' arenas. They own their own. And maybe that's the wisdom we can take from them. Stop comparing your wings to someone else's. Learn to use what you've been given. Find your ocean, and own it. Humor in the struggle. Of course, let's not pretend penguins are all majestic seriousness. They slip. They tumble. They chase after each other like kids on a playground. Sometimes they steal pebbles from each other's nests. Sometimes they waddle straight into snowbanks like they didn't see them coming. And maybe that's why we love them so much. Penguins are not just survivors, they're relatable. They remind us of ourselves, a little awkward, a little clumsy, but somehow always finding a way through. Their lives are a balance of comedy and courage. And maybe that's exactly why they've marched into our movies, our books, and even our hearts. A world without flight. So let's return to the question, why can't penguins fly? The short answer, because they don't need to. The long answer, because millions of years ago, they made a choice. A choice that gave them denser bones, stronger flippers, sharper vision, better survival. A choice that allowed them to thrive where few creatures can. Penguins don't soar in the sky because they don't have to. They soar underwater, in their own world, where they are kings. And if you ask me, which would you rather be? Another bird lost in the endless skies, or the one bird that reigns supreme in the icy, mysterious deep? Call to action. And now, my friends, it's your turn to make a choice. If you've enjoyed diving into this world with me, if you've felt even a fraction of the wonder that penguins inspire, then do yourself a favor, subscribe to Arctic Castle Penguin right now. This channel isn't just about facts. It's about stories. It's about finding the extraordinary in the creatures we think we already know. It's about laughing at their quirks, admiring their resilience, and learning lessons that we can bring into our own lives. By subscribing, you're not just joining a channel. You're joining a community of curious, passionate people who see the world differently, who believe that even a flightless bird can teach us how to soar. So go ahead. Click subscribe. Stay curious. Stay inspired. And keep walking, or waddling, forward with us, because the adventure has only just begun. Closing thought. Penguins may not fly. But every time they leap from the ocean, every time they glide beneath the waves, every time they march together across the ice, they remind us that there's more than one way to take flight. And that's why, here at Arctic Castle Penguin, we'll keep telling their story. Because sometimes, the birds that can't fly are the ones who lift us the highest.